Thailand recently reached a milestone legalizing same-sex marriage and becoming the first in Southeast Asia to do so. This brought up a conversation online about how its neighbor and close ally in pageants, the Philippines, lags far behind. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, the trans community taking hits from US President Trump with his anti-trans legislation. Now, this morning, we talk about it with model Miss Trans Global Philippines 2021 and gender equality advocate Bie Revalde. Bie, good morning. It's a beautiful day.
Good morning. Yeah, it indeed is a beautiful day to talk about these stuff, these advocacies, and thank you for having me as well. How
Of
are you?
course. Great having you, Bie. Actually, when I did Miss World in 2018, this was actually my advocacy. This is something I advocate for, same-sex marriage, because I have some close people close to my heart that are gay and that unfortunately they can't get the benefits of all the legal stuff. So I'm glad we're talking about it this morning. So you were Miss Trans Global 2021 runner-up, winning multiple awards, including Activist Queen of the Year. Can you tell us more about that journey and a bit of background about why you won that award?
Well, it's actually interesting to hear you say that you are also a beauty queen because before joining Miss Trans Global Philippines and Miss Trans Global, ultimately, I I think it would be hypocritical for me to say that I just joined it to spread goodness or to for the sake of advocacy itself using the platform because way back 2021 I wasn't really a fan of pageantry. At first I thought it pageants could have its tendencies to be pretentious and sort
Mm-hmm.
of betray the advocacy that it's supposed to be serving. But when I grew to learn more about maximizing platforms and how any space in the society can be ultimately reclaimed for advocacies, and also knowing that Miss Trans Global is created by trans women for trans women who are advocating for change. This is where I saw that any spaces in our society, any platform, just as pageantry, is essential for us to maximize. And when I actually joined Miss Trans Global, at first I thought I just need financial resources, and it has been a leverage for me to not just uplift my social and financial standing, but also to ultimately come out to my parents. Just like how this queer spaces in the Philippines, the localized version of pageants, which are the barangay pageants, or the basic unit of the community, has been to a lot of transnene. It is a platform for us to, uplift our community and express ourselves, to be visible. So I think being an activist queen or to be an activist, we don't just do it for, let's say, for show, for performance. We don't just do it for the sake of having an advocacy. It is just an extension of what we were already doing. It is just an extension of who we are. It is our very identity. So I think that is also where I can see the genuineness of what we are doing and how I see even my reign as something that is lifetime because it is connected to who I am.
Yeah. B, of course, we're talking to you especially because of the recent news of what happened in Thailand, wherein they did legalize same-sex marriage. And there are a lot of people wondering just how far is the Philippines compared to what Thailand is doing. We had a conversation just a while ago in the show talking about how the Philippines is one of the last two countries without divorce in general. And there are already people wondering how far are we from actually having same-sex marriage. Where do you think we are in those conversations?
Sorry, is my audio all right? Or is
Yes,
it,
your audio's
uh,
fine.
um, well, I think we're pretty behind we are comparing to Thailand, because aside from same-sex marriage, even with the standing of the transgender community, with the transgender healthcare, when I went to Thailand, I really saw how the things that are being legislated there, for example, the gender affirming healthcare is not yet present in the Philippines. And to see them really push for a full grant of a same sex marriage and marriage equality, first in Southeast Asia, I think it is a historical move that we are yet to work on. But I think it shouldn't really depress us from knowing this, but to take inspiration from it and to have that international solidarity and take this empowerment from countries similar to us like Thailand, that we can still do the same, and it has really helped them progress as a country, and it can also do the same to our country both culturally, politically, and economically. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, meron pa ring lack of recognition to same-sex couples, let alone marriage rights. Like just before, we have discussed about how our view on divorce is still sort of backwards. What more is it for the same-sex couples in our country? And that is, I think, the biggest roadblocks to this is the fact that Philippines is deeply entangled to our culture, particularly to religion and the politics, even though the Philippine Constitution has explicitly stated and protected religious freedom, in in actuality or in practice, marami pa rin, or a lot of religious communities, religious doctrines are still heavily influencing our policymaking. And I think a huge part of this is also influenced by a sense of oligarchy, or having the same set of leaders, the same clan of leaders all throughout our democratic process. So I think it is also a call for the Filipino community to be more critical when it comes to choosing leaders who would not just uplift yung Philippines on an economic level, but also the marginalized communities that we have.
Yeah, B, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you there, but then I actually brought up a good point because there was a Senate bill proposed a few years ago. And of course, and we were talking about it a while ago.
Senate Bill 449, which would have legalized civil same-sex union. But of course, we are a very religious, very conservative country, so it was met with, strong oppositions from the religious community. But do you see them, changing their minds about this in the future?
Well, definitely, I do believe that change is possible. Not just possible, but it is bound to happen. I mean, the LGBTQIA plus community are historically proven to be naturally existing, and we are not going anywhere. It is just up for our legislators, for our world leaders, our local leaders to choose the right path, the right part of our history in uplifting our community, or deterring from their basic human rights. So, although it is possible and it is bound to happen, it requires sustained efforts among our advocates, our activists, and also the genuineness from our leaders to do the same, And for example, during 2019, we have heard even Pope Francis himself to say that um, legal aid or legal rights protections when it comes to same-sex couples should be granted to them, even if it is at the cost of compromising the civil unions that we are normally introduced to. So I think if it's not same-sex marriage, if it's same-sex union, if for a civil union, I think we can explore that idea, because nakakalungkot naman,
Yeah.
now we have like couples who cannot really take care of their partners, who have been with their partners for decades and cannot even see them at their last hours of death just because they are not listed as a direct guardian to that person. So hindi sila nagkakaroon ng ganong rights.
Yeah.
And that those are beyond the beyond the ownership of their shared
Yeah, because
equals.
it's just beyond the legalities for sure.
Yeah,
Pero
beyond the
B,
legalities.
when you what struck me when you were when you were speaking a while ago is when you said that it is just a matter of time rather than it will not happen. When you look at how the Philippine politics in particular has evolved, obviously we already have trans legislators, trans members of the trans members who are part of government at the moment. Do you feel that that is one of the key reasons why you're so optimistic in saying that it will happen? It's just a question of when.
I think not that is a contributing factor, and we hope that our LGBTQ plus members of the government would really uphold their sworn platforms. And I hope not just them, but also our good allies in the government would do the same. But beyond that, I think the key factor in making this possible are the active pursuit of the people in calling for this change to happen. For example, advocacy works, policy recommendations, activism, research backing up these policy recommendations. These are essential, crucial things that we can be doing, to make this happen. Uh, and I think this is also where the conversation about Trump's aid in the Philippines would also be beneficial, because this aid from foreign countries can help back up research that could help us provide more evidences to policy claims. For example, when it comes to transgender health. And who knows, maybe we can do the same for same sex marriage.
So, Bea, I want to backtrack because earlier you mentioned about the rights and how gay people cannot claim the body or even see their partner like on their deathbeds because it's not legally recognized. So when I was actually doing my advocacy and I interviewed Tito Boy Abunda, that's what he said exactly is he cannot claim the body of his partner because he's not legally recognized. So I want you to expound for our viewers, what are those other legal issues or what are those other rights that you guys can't have? For example, property. You guys can't claim the same property, etc. So I just want you to expound on that so that they know what you guys are missing out on.
Well, policy is not really my forte, but what I can add up onto that is, without the recognition of same-sex couples through a civil union, we won't have the same rights as our straight counterparts have. For example, having property merging and having that immediate guardianship towards our partners when they have like emergency or be in a medical bed. So the guardianship will still go to their parents, to their family members. And what happens is, throughout experiences of other members of the community, or most of them, is that these parents who do not approve to their relationship wouldn't let their partners come to them or visit them when they are on their medical beds. And what if it's a deathbed already? So the partners won't even have that simple or that very basic right to even see their partners or to be with them on their deathbed.
So, Bea, I thought moving forward that the U.S. is more open-minded, correct, with the LGBTQIA community. And recently, U.S. President Donald Trump, he just changed the U.S. policy on gender and diversity. He's saying that there are only two genders. So what are your thoughts on that? I feel like we're going way back.
Yeah, I actually can see this as this is very, to be honest, I can see this very similar to what has happened to the first research institute on sexuality in Germany, when the Nazis burned that very first library focusing on sexual research, and where the first sexual reassignment surgery has been done. So this is, yeah, this is like a way back into the dark times of our history, and it has always been the trans kids who are at the forefronts of being attacked first during these dark times of our history on LGBTQIA plus plight. However, to add up onto that, we have seen din naman previously through the previous administrations of Trump, how he has done negative legislation on the LGBTQ plus community. For example, those transgender military who are not allowed to serve the military, and up until now, the rolling back of protections for the LGBTQ plus workers. The danger here is not just in US, but knowing that US is also a very influential country, having a history of colonizing other countries and having that direct influence as well on economic basis and cultural basis. This will have ripple effects on other world leaders. For example, those conservative governments, they can use this as an excuse to do the same if US has not, if a country as powerful as US has already done this. And if they take much aid and influence from US, then it would be an excuse for them to do the same, which I hope, and not just hope, but I want people to really actively oppose and fight against. So again, this is where activism remains critical. And I think this is also a point for, or an opportunity for our local leaders, our leaders, national leaders across different countries to step up, especially those who are affected by the stop work order, for example, and those who are affected by the stopping of foreign aid from US, for them to step up and join with their with local organizations, their countries, with civil organizations, so that they can be independent even without this foreign aid. It would be sustainable for their country to sustain research on healthcare, particular to the LGBTQ plus community, for instance, the transgender healthcare. And
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Bie, for all your insights and for raising awareness today. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we don't. But thank you so much again for coming on the show, Bie Revalde. Or Revaldo, I'm so sorry, I butchered your last name.
thank you as well. It's Revalde. Thank you as well.
Revalde, sorry, it wasn't on the prompter.
Thank you so much.